Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Olson, and tonight we have Ariel and AB to have a conversation, kind of a fireside virtual chat around beyond the social media influencer. Influence is a thing in the old school world, in the new school world, whether you're online, whether you're offline. And tonight's chat is really more about kind of blowing up this urban myth around maybe some conversations that are going through your brain about what an influencer is. And we're going to look behind the scenes, kind of the Wizard of Oz, pull back the curtain, kind of look into a day in the life of an influencer. And if you, so the two people we want to sort of invite to listen in tonight are influencers, or someone who wants to be one and think that's the end all be all to like the promised land. And so we have tonight an influencer. We have tonight an influencer who helps new people launch businesses and design sort of things that are built to last. And so I think I always learn from these two ladies. I always learn from your generation, ladies. I'm kind of like the silverback in the back room off stage, learning from the next generation, trying to mentor this crew on some old school principles that are kind of built to last. And, you know, it's one thing to have success in life. And there's kind of a science to success, but there's also the art of fulfillment. And having success and fulfillment is really about finding kind of that sweet spot. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about tonight, because these ladies I've met them in the last several years, and they've come into my sandbox in my world and been able to realize some things that perhaps weren't available to them prior. And so with that, we'll just kind of dive in. And so, you know, the tagline in the flyer, if you saw that, was things that are built to last. How do you build a community, both online and offline? What is this thing that is sort of collaborative income? Collaboration is the new form of competition. How do you plug into a culture? And really, how do you find a vehicle? I think that's maybe a way to think about this. If you're out there looking for a tribe, the Abundance Project, which these two ladies are a part of, they are up to something. My organization, Healthy Living Agency, we're all sort of one team, one mission, one big family. And if you're looking for a tribe to plug into, let me frame it sort of around this context. We have a place for you to belong. We have a place for you to learn. We have a vehicle that will take you from here to there, and there is higher ground, and higher ground can mean more financial, a financial windfall or financial cash flow or income. But from here to there can also be finding a place where you can grow, where you can flourish, where you can have fun, where deep, meaningful relationships sort of unpackage. And if you think about successful people you admire, people who you want to be like, chances are they've got deep, meaningful relationships with a community that have their back. And so with that as kind of context beyond the influencer, kind of looking behind the scenes or sort of deconstructing what that is, I'm going to let AB kind of kick off as someone who's newer to our playground, if you will. You are an influencer. You actually are a business coach, and you help your generation sort of ramp up and onboard and think about kind of business principles to consider beyond just getting likes and follows. And I'll leave. This is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll kind of shut up here. We used to say that profits are greater than or better than wages, meaning owning your future, right? But now we've got kind of a new thing to think about, is partners are greater than followers. It's one thing to have influence online and have followers, but how you translate that into a vehicle that means something that can become an enterprise is really kind of the conversation tonight. So with that, AB, tell us your story, how you came into this community, and what you kind of discovered that was maybe unexpected.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me on. So yeah, my name is Britt, and I have been part of this business for about a year and a half now, and it has completely changed my life in like all the right ways. When I first learned about this business, I was probably similar to a lot of you, wanting to build something myself. I loved the idea of being an entrepreneur. I realized quickly from working in the corporate world for only 1 year that I was not meant to have a boss. I was meant to be my own boss, but I didn't really know how to do that. I didn't really know what it looked like. I knew that I cared about people. I wanted to make an impact. I was really passionate. I am really passionate about health and wellness. I'm a yoga teacher. And so I was trying to create this business or brand or whatever it was, but I didn't really know what it was. And I didn't know how I was going to be making money from it. It was just more of like an idea and an Instagram account. And then this beautiful woman on the screen here with me, Ariel, had introduced one of my other best friends to this opportunity, and I trusted both of them and looked up to both of them and didn't really know a whole lot about what this business was, but knew that I didn't really have anything to lose. And I definitely had some, at least at the time, I was thinking financially, I had a lot to gain. So I said yes. And it kind of blew my mind right away. That was, I guess, one of the unexpected things. I really didn't quite know what to expect. And for me, I really saw like a way out, if you will, a way to be my own boss. I had that vision finally of like what that freedom looked like and how I could make an impact and how I could use my passion in health and wellness to help people and make money at the same time and do something like I had now, a purpose, if you will, for this like brand that I was trying to create on Instagram. And yeah, the past 18 months have been incredible. I have definitely grown as a business person. I've built some incredible friendships, and now I have this incredible opportunity that like I can now share with someone who was maybe in my position 18 months ago.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you. So I met Ariel a couple years ago, really 2 years this fall. And at the time, she was already an influencer, living the dream if you looked at her life on Instagram, right? And we've been playing together for a couple years, but I guess, Ariel, what have the last 2 years sort of meant to you, and what have you learned from going kind of, an influencer kind of on the cusp of kind of breaking through to really cash flow, and now you got a large following, but maybe some of the rest of the story that you kind of got some enlightenment here in the last couple of months, kind of plugging back into our community.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a whirlwind, and it's crazy sitting here in this position now because pretty much everything that's happening in my life was like not at all what I planned or what I expected. And I feel like we live at a time where we couldn't have planned for this when we were kids. It's not like you're going to sit there at 10 years old and be like, oh, I'm going to like somehow make a living by being a cool person online. Like, it's just kind of crazy, the possibilities that we have at our fingertips now. And so, around 4 years ago, I was just this girl with a GoPro. I was out doing cool stuff. I was a rock climber, loved hiking, snowboarding. And so I was just bringing my GoPro out and taking photos, and it kind of caught on Instagram, and I started to grow. And here's the thing, I think people see this number, they see like that K, right, after your followers, right? Like you hit 10K, ooh, people get excited, but it doesn't actually mean anything or actually translate to income. And so when I found this opportunity, when one of my best friends, brought this opportunity to me, actually, I joined really for my health. I was struggling with some really bad inflammation, but when I got a sense of this community, I really wanted to learn more about what was going on, because I had this illusion on social media that I had it all figured out. But in real life, I didn't have the freedom that it looked like I had. I was teaching yoga full-time, 10, 15 classes a week, tons of private clients, and yeah, I had time to get out and hike, but I did not have the freedom to leave the town that I lived in. And luckily I lived somewhere beautiful, but I had bigger dreams, right? I wanted to explore. And so I really saw this as an opportunity to take this small influence, this sphere that I had built, and be able to make more of an impact, not just in my life, but in other people's lives. And so, even around 30,000 followers, I was making a couple $100 a month, maybe on Instagram. And this opportunity came to me as a way to one, tap into things that I'm already passionate about. I mean, I've been passionate about health and wellness for as long as I can remember, and then create something really, really sustainable. So I dove in head first, and I told everyone that I know, and I'm so glad I did, because I get to be here today with, you know, friends like Britt, and her and I are so much closer now than we ever were before because of this, you know, community that we've been a part of together. But I went crazy with it, and then sometime in this spring, things changed online, and I started to make big girl money on social media. And I thought that was the promised land. So I kind of took a pause on this community over the summer, and it looked really good online. You know, like I was traveling and getting paid to travel and some really cool opportunities. And don't hear the fact, like, I'm so grateful for all the opportunities that came my way. And I did enjoy a lot of it. But there's this low-level loneliness that was happening that I couldn't quite shake and I couldn't quite figure out. And there was also this slight, like, sense of purpose that I was missing. And when I'd come home and I'd have, like, you know, free time to be home, I felt like something was missing. And this fall, I got a chance to reconnect with this community, like really, really reconnect in person. And it made me realize how important having real true connections are, and how fulfillment is actually more important to me than a lot of the other things that were coming my way. And why not have both, right? Why not have both? Why not create that life that's like you've been dreaming of for years, but also do so with a sense of fulfillment and knowing that you're making an impact, and learn some really, really cool just life skills and tools and tips along the way. So I don't know if that was more than you bargained for, but that's kind of been the journey of the last 2 years.
No, that's really good. So thank you. So this question is for both of you, and let's go in the reverse order. We'll go Ariel first and AB second. Is, you know, if you're launching online and starting a new business and you want to go get influence, there's this whole thing called social proof. And for your generation, it's showing sort of social proof on Instagram, or sort of street cred, because when you meet somebody, you go check out their Instagram or their Facebook or their LinkedIn or their Twitter, and kind of that. So influence or having presence online, which you teach, AB, and people are looking for continuity and consistency in who you are when they meet you, if they're looking you up, right? So there's an element of social proof where that's important to have a perception of influence, a perception of like you're up to something and you're consistent and you have clarity, right? But then there's also sort of the other side of the equation, where if you're a digital native and you have some influence, here's the question. Whether you're trying to get influence or you already have it, your generation is kind of all about building your brand, right? Your brand, like the Ariel brand, the AB brand. So let me ask you, has bringing in goods to your brand detracted from the Ariel brand, detracted from the AB brand, or has it actually amplified your brand? And can you walk and chew gum at the same time and have both, like the Abundance Project, right? Goods and services. And has this amplified or detracted your brand by having a side hustle that actually can create some cash flow?
Am I first?
Yep.
So I think the most important thing to remember, and I feel like my generation is so easy and quick to forget this, or I think we just want to block it out. But if you are in business, you're selling something, whether it's your services, your time, your skill set, you know, your knowledge, or a product. And the thing that is really cool about a product is that, especially if it makes an impact in people's life, you know, something like what we share that's really impacting people's health on a profound way. Like I just like can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am for how this has made an impact in my health, and like the things that it's freed me up to be able to do, because I am no longer suffering the way I was suffering. Like it's impacted me so much that I will take this for the rest of my life, every day, every single day. Right? And that's something that you can't get if you are sharing a service, because if you are sharing a service, you're trading always your time for dollars, and there's a max capacity for the amount of time that you have. And I think so many people in our generation, like the whole point is time freedom, and yet we're as a generation like so scared of the idea of sharing something that might actually give us that time freedom, so that we're not tied or like a slave to our calendar. And I think that, you know, for me, it's been really, really empowering. No matter who you are, there's products in your life that you love, that you're passionate about, that have impacted you. And I think it's really important that whatever it is that you find, that it's something that you really resonate with and align with. But if you find that product, then why not? You know, why not have that be a piece of the puzzle? And like I said, you know, having the impact that it had on my health, I'm going to take it every day anyways. And I know that there's 100 things that I've bought in the last year that I've told my friends to buy that I get no financial benefit from, because that's just how we work. We're sharing these things that we love anyways. So that's my opinion on the matter.
That's great. AB?
Yeah, I love that, Ariel. I totally agree. I would say that having something more to offer has definitely done a lot for my brand. And like, this was kind of the beginning of it for me. Like, I joined this opportunity. I joined the Abundance Project before I put myself out there as a business coach. And so this really like gave me a platform to start my brand from. And it was still very much like my own. And I was able to, like Ariel was saying, just share something that actually helped people, but do it in a way that felt really good for me. And now that I am business coaching, like I work with people who are super busy and aren't really taking the best care of themselves and need to have like really high functioning brains all the time. And so it like works out really well because I have something that can help them. And it's part of like, my whole kind of brand is high vibe living, right? No matter like what area of your life that is. And when you're taking care of your health, like that's putting yourself into a high vibe. And when you're trying to create as an entrepreneur or anyone in business, right? Like you want to be creating from that high vibe place. So for me, it just like, it all works really well together. And I've found a way to kind of integrate everything into one brand that's still very much me, while also being part of a bigger community, a bigger business, a bigger opportunity. And people tell me that all the time. They're like, I'm just attracted to you and your energy. I'm like, well, it's because I take really good care of my health. I have that like high vibe energy. And like, that's just, yeah, that's kind of like the message that I put out there with everything that I'm doing. So I would say having these goods to offer only makes my brand more valuable. It makes me more legit, I would say, because I have even more to offer, right? Like if someone's not interested, they don't own a business, you know, they're not interested in that aspect of what I do. It's like, well, listen, I know for a fact that you probably could use some help with your nutrition. So at least I can help you with that.
That's great. Well, and that's kind of a good segue to just kind of, for those that are tuning in, look, it's one thing to make money. It's another thing to make a difference. But if you can make money and make a difference, that's a thing. And the Abundance Project and the Healthy Living Agency, we're in the healthy living business, right? We activate and help people take action and get on the field of play. And if you've not watched the movie Game Changers yet, go to Netflix, Google it, whatever. We are in the plant-based health food business. I'll leave it at that. And we talk about food conditioning with plant matter. So if that resonates with you, follow up with the person that invited you to kind of tune in and plug in with these ladies. And we have got game. We know what we're doing, and we are up to something in the space of helping people get more matter that matters into their body. And it is a business. It's a real business. I have been in this business for 20 years. I've been cashing the check for 20 years. And here's what I learned. I came into this whole playground with some influence, and it was, you know, really before the internet blew up. We still had the internet, but it wasn't there. We had no social media, right? But what I learned was it's one thing to be the message and have the spotlight on you. And I was a professional athlete in my former life. And so I came in this with guns blazing, and I wanted to own the mic and have the spotlight. And I realized, well, I had to learn things the hard way because I got a pretty thick skull, that I can only do so much. I can only create so much business. And the name of the game, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to start with a side hustle, and have some success, and then maybe grow it into a multiple 5-6-figure lifestyle. Like how would I raise a family as a guy? You've got to figure out a way to create leverage. And we use social leverage, word of mouth leverage, but how do you scale the creation of income while you're making a difference beyond your own ability to produce it? Now, Ariel, let me ask you, if you stop posting on Instagram and you stop being, kind of being out there on social media, what happens to your paycheck as an influencer, right?
I don't have one.
So, if you're gunning after those followers and you're trying to be an influencer, or you already are an influencer, here's kind of the business principle. If you believe that goods and services is good enterprise, your treasure hunt is to find goods that align with your brand. Find goods that amplify your brand. And if you don't have a lot of influence online, not to worry, because we have plenty of people who crush it in our business, and they just do it the old school way. They just do it out in the real world. And yes, they want to grow their influence. Yeah, we all want to grow our influence. Like I don't have any followers on Instagram. I want to figure out how a 52-year-old guy gains some followers on Instagram. Because look, I want to have some more conversations, but you gals probably are not rolling on LinkedIn. Like there's 4 or 5 different platforms that we got to play on, man. If you want to be in the business of using social media as a tool. And so here's the question. I work with athletes on athletes are kind of hip to and know of sponsorships. And as an influencer, that's kind of one of the things you get paid to do. You get sponsored. And you either get swag and product, or you get actually cash. And maybe what got you cash 3 or 4 or 5 years ago as an influencer, that runway now, instead of maybe having 50,000 followers, you got to have 150, 200,000 followers. And it's probably going to get more, not less, as time goes on and on and on. And maybe speak, Ariel, to how the hustler game of an influencer has escalated and is competitive, and you're only as good as your your next 10,000 followers that you keep adding on and adding on, because there's a whole new generation coming right behind you. So can you unpackage that a little bit and kind of let us see the Wizard of Oz kind of behind the scenes of that hustle?
Yeah, well, I think that the thing that's tough about it is there's so much out of your control when it comes to social media. Like the things I can control, I can create good content that I'm proud of. I can write a good message that I'm proud of. I can do the steps that I think might help the algorithm, but in the end, I don't actually know what's going to work. And it's crazy to me still, it's surprising, the posts that do really well and the posts that don't. And there's just no control in that aspect. And that is, those numbers actually matter as to like what companies want to pay you, these numbers that you don't actually have control over. And so it's really important for your mental health not to get really attached to that, because there is nothing that you can do. But it is nice when there are other things that are in your control. There's so much with this other business that I can, take my power back, and that feels really, really, really good. And I think when it comes to social media, unless you're really large, have a really, really large page, in order to make enough money to like, oh my God, like support a family or, those types of things that Jeff was talking about, you would likely have to be doing a ton of collaborations every single month, finding new ones all the time. And that's going to impact your brand message way more than staying consistent with something that you actually believe in. Because if every single month you're posting about 10 different products and they're all over the board and maybe competitive products, what are you saying about, like, what sort of trust are you building? If you like this product one day and that product another day, I think eventually like people kind of wisen up to that. And it's not to say that you can't evolve and grow, but I think like if you are consistent with something, like people really start to understand that and to be like, oh, okay, this isn't just like some one and done deal. And for me, like, always, always, always from the beginning, I would only accept collaboration offers that align with me and align with my brand. But that meant I was turning down thousands of dollars. But it mattered to me. It was important. And I think a lot of times in the beginning, especially when you're only getting so many offers, it's hard to make that call. It's hard to say like, oh, this product is really on the edge of what I believe in. And so I think that having other like alternatives really allows you to, it's not to say that you should never, it's not to say I'm going to like stop doing collaborations, but now I get to be really choosy and really, really say yes to the ones that I align with versus feeling the need to say yes because I'm kind of in that place of desperation.
That's really good. That's really good. And I think, I know an influencer online, and we've been having a dialogue for the last couple of years now, and they have over 300,000 followers, and they speak to a lot of the challenges and frustrations that you shared, Ariel, is that it's a pretty lonely life. This gal travels all over the world, and if you look at her on Instagram, she looks like a freaking rock star, and she's living a rock star life, but it's a lonely life. And here's kind of, and this is how it relates to kind of be, I think of an influencer online as kind of being almost a professional athlete. You get this window of opportunity in the sun, and as you age out, maybe they're looking for the next hot face and cool up and comer kind of thing, and it kind of there's kind of an athletic kind of move on to it. But I asked her, I said, you own your brand, but do you actually own your income? Meaning, do you actually own that influence? And the way I described it to her was, athletes rent out their influence as an athlete to a third party, right? And that third party either gives you swag or pays you cash, and it's an arm's length transaction, and they pay you or give you stuff, and then they go out and market to your eyeballs, right? And that renting of influence is great if you can realize sustainable income from it, but it is a grind and a hustle and a thing. And what I say to athletes, and what I said to her is, why don't you also own that influence and build an enterprise that no one can take away from you? Meaning, it's not a rental relationship; it's an ownership relationship. And we'll see if she decides to sort of take me up on it. But AB, speak to kind of that person who doesn't have a lot of influence online, and how you help them as a business coach really go back to really what old school influence is just your relationships and being authentic and going into your tribe and your zip code and your community and having authentic relationships and building influence just one-on-one, person-to-person, being real, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately in business, the most important thing is building relationships. Like, that's what it is. Like, you look at these people, like, think of people in your life that you would think of as like a successful business person. They probably know everyone, right? Like, they're the person that you call to like connect you with whoever you need, because that's really what it's all about, is building relationships and building like real, authentic relationships. And that can be done online. Like, I've truly met some of my closest friends in the online space, because that's just the world that we live in now. But that's not the only way, obviously, to do it. And
AB, let me ask you, AB, let me just jump in. Those people that you've met online, do you still exist online relationally, or have you translated that into real world meeting, connection in the world? Like, have you taken those offline and turn them into deeper relationships offline, or are they just online only relationships?
The people that I happen to be in the same place as, yeah, it's been taken offline, and now they're like my friends in real life. And I see them in like 3D. Yeah. Not just 2D.
But like a couple months ago, we all gathered together, and people kind of flew in from all over the country and connected as a community, and it was an entrepreneur conference in the health food business that we're in. And Ariel, that was kind of your plugging back into that community after 6 months. And, it's not that you're together all the time and live in the same zip code, but that you're connected online, but then you have sort of business events through the season that bring you back together. Like, as an example, in a couple months, I'm connecting with all of you, which, I'm in Denver, you're in Aspen, AB. Where are you guys? You're in Reno, you're in Tahoe. And so we don't live together, but we're going to connect together in a couple months and go skiing and play all together in Steamboat at a business conference. And so I guess the question for AB is, how has this expanded your idea of what being a business owner is while curating your influence?
That's a good question. So I think that this kind of gave me a platform to start to build my influence, because like I said, when before I joined, I didn't really know like what it was that I was trying to do. And then after connecting with this community, I was like, okay, now I have something to share. Now I have something that I'm really, that I'm really passionate about. I have an opportunity for people. And so, yeah, it just gave me that platform. So it was like, now I had something to talk about when I went and met these people. And it's not like every single person I meet, I'm like, oh, let me tell you about this. But it comes up naturally just because it's something that I really care about. And fortunately, it's something that makes so much sense and people are intrigued by it and therefore, you know, continue to ask questions about it. And so for me, it allowed me to have kind of a reason and a purpose behind that influence. Whereas before I was like, well, yeah, like I want to have an online brand, like I want to have followers, but like, what's the why? And that's what I teach my business clients is like, okay, what are you even doing on social media? Like, what is the reason behind your business? Like, what is your actual purpose? Because I believe that you can't actually become successful unless you have that purpose. Like long-term, sustainable, fulfilling success, like the right kind of success is not going to happen unless you have that purpose. And you're not going to have those deeper, meaningful relationships unless there's an underlying purpose. And when you meet someone that has an aligned purpose as you, that's when those relationships can really start to get deeper and deeper. And like us being in the health business, a lot of people resonate with that. A lot of people are also passionate about that. So I would say, yeah, to answer that, it really just gave me a platform to like start to have that influence and a purpose behind the relationships that I was trying to build.
Ariel, you know, your generation, you know, the word is side hustle. When I grew up is, you know, get a second job, you know, having sort of multiple streams of income because there's more month at the end of the money kind of thing. And, you know, we're all trying to game up and level up and have more money than month, right? And so, you know, so I, you know, we're in the gig economy and I call it the gig plus economy because there are ways to expand. Like you can be an affiliate and do affiliate marketing. You can get a side hustle, you know, doing Uber or Airbnb in your extra bedroom. But those tend to be kind of linear sources of income, right? Where it's transactional and they're one-offs. And just kind of speak to what you learned of collaborative income, kind of beyond the influencer to collaboration with partners versus followers, and what you learned on scaling income beyond your own ability to produce it, kind of the collaborative economy, collaborative income, what I call agency income. You know, you can be an agent, like a real estate agent, or you can own that real estate agency, and you can actually even do both, right? And so talk to us about what you learned about, you know, creating a tribe and helping them be successful and realizing some revenue share in a collaborative format. What have you learned about that as a business principle in the last couple of years?
Well, I mean, you know, when it comes to social media, there's only so many posts I can do in a month. There's only so much me. And so it is really limited, you know, the max capacity. And it's not like, you know, you can't do a paid post every single day of the month because that's just inauthentic. It's not real. You start to lose your message in there. So there's these limitations on what you can do alone with that. And which is good because I really think it's important to continue to really, truly share from your heart. However, we are always better together. I mean, this is the superpower of being a human being. Like as human beings, like we're not like the scariest, we're not the most lethal. I mean, these teeth aren't really going to do much damage. Like we didn't make it to where we are now as a species because we have the teeth and we have the claws. Our superpower is community. Our superpower is collaboration. And that's really what's allowed us as a human race to be in this position of power that we are so, you know, so privileged to have at this point in time. I think we have some responsibility to do some really good things with that power that's not necessarily happening, but we have that power because of our ability to work together. Right. And I think that that's something that is a little bit lost in the, let's say, millennial generation. Is kind of like, it's kind of become the me generation. And I'm not going to say that like, listen, my whole Instagram is pictures of me. I get it. I'm not demonizing that, but I'm saying that in this whole effort to define ourselves, we're losing what made us the best versions of ourselves. Like, we're really losing out on this ability to expand and grow. And I promise you, to reach the maximum capacity of what you're capable of, it's not going to be by yourself, right? It's going to be linking arms with people who have skills that you don't have, or leveraging the fact that along the way, you're going to learn some skills and that you get to be compensated by passing along those skills that you've learned, just in the same way that the person who passed it to you did, right? You get to leverage the fact that you got to bear that fruit first and pass that along. So I think, to me, I just think it's really, really, really important that we remember that. Right. And I think that's why there's so many studies right now showing that loneliness is one of like the top killers. Like, it's one of the top killers in the world, where people are dying from the effects of loneliness than anything else, because it's so ingrained in us as human beings to connect and to collaborate. And when we start putting walls and boundaries around ourselves in that way, it's not to say like, protect your energy, whatever, self-care, all of that's important. But when we build walls around ourselves and become a city of one, we feel it in so many ways: financial, energetic, emotional. Like, there's just so many repercussions from this like martyrdom of, I got to do it all myself. And I'm telling you that from experience, because it has been, one of the biggest lessons I've had to keep learning over and over again is like, just because I can carry the weight of the world does not mean I have to. And it really means that if I were to ask for help and to work together with someone else, I could get to that end result and like get there with a smile. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. I don't know if it was as direct as you wanted, but that's really.
No, that's fine. We'll just have one more question. I think, wise mentor once told me, all possibility occurs in a conversation. And that's all this is, if you're tuning in, you're kind of, if you're asking, if you're seeking, if you're knocking for more meaning, right? It's one thing to make money. It's another thing to find meaning. If we can give you money and meaning, that's kind of the invitation to learn more about the Abundance Project, to learn more about the Healthy Living Agency, what we are up to as a sort of global tribe. We've got a home for you, got a place for you, but in the end, we're kind of about that win-win, like you win, I win, right? And it's a different way to think about business. I came in guns a-blazing, dog as a former professional athlete, and I thought I had to beat everyone. And what I've learned from mostly women, because I work with mostly women, 85% women in the healthy living business, because you're nurturers, but the ones who really lay it down and roll with us are the nurturers who want to take that on the field of play and take action and actually nurture through action. And as I say, all ambition, all desire, hunger needs a vehicle. And we have a vehicle that can make you money and make you meaning and deliver into, give you a community that you can, some of my greatest friends, my dearest friends, my friends for life, I have met through this last 15 years, playing in this journey. And like I said, I've just met you all, and now I've met this whole new tribe of millennial mojo that I'm learning from. And so just kind of end with, if you're an influencer tuning in and you lack that connection and you kind of think you're doing it on your own, or you don't have a lot of influence and you're looking a way to, find a vehicle where you can actually build relationships with a team and level up and experience personal growth and all these sorts of things that you envision what could be in your dream job or your dream community. Share kind of an invitation to those that are tuning in, why they should bother to kind of reach out and learn more with whoever invited them to listen in tonight. Go ahead, AB.
I think it's really just an opportunity to dream bigger and like step up to the plate of like, you were made for more. I think that the majority of people on this planet are not living up to their potential, and it's not because they don't have it. It's just because maybe they're scared or they don't know how to put it into action. And this opportunity like handed me my potential, basically, like gave me a way to really like, see what I was made of, see what I could do, see what I was capable of. and do it with a purpose. Like I said, it all comes back to that purpose, and to do it surrounded by other people that not only have that same ambition and that same drive as you, but want it just as badly for you as they want it for themselves. Like, yes, this is a community and it's incredible that we have that community, but we're like a community of like badass go-getters. And that was something that I was missing in my life. Like, I've always had that ambitious streak. I've always been somewhat of a driven person, and I thrive when I'm surrounded by that, because you know that saying, like, you're a product of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So you better spend your time with people that you want to be like, right? So that's what this opportunity has really given me. It's that community. It's that sense of taking care of each other. It's that sense of taking care of like other people that we can help with their health, and doing it with big freaking goals. Like, we're on a mission. We're trying to take over the world.
There you go. Badass babes, man. So Ariel, kind of bring us home here and just talk about, you know, why bother? Why plug into this tribe, this crew, this project?
Well, I'll just kind of like amen to everything that Britt has shared and everything that you've shared, Jeff. And just, you know, I think the thing that is really, really cool about this business is it's an amplifier of all things, right? Like what's been said throughout the whole call is it's a vehicle and it's a place to start. But I think one of the biggest things with people in, you know, this generation is, you know, they don't want to do just the one thing. We want to have all these different things. We have lots of different passions. And I can hands down say that the skills that I have learned from building this business have transferred into everything else that I've done. And so it's like, this may be your end all, this may end up being your end all be all, but this may also just be like the jumping board right into whatever the next big thing is. And I will say, you know, like, I've been so grateful for all the tools that I've learned, the personal development, you know, like actually owning my self-worth. That's been a really, really big thing that I've learned through this business, like really, really learning to own that I'm worth it, that I'm valuable, that I deserve to be here, that I have a voice that deserves to be heard. And I think so many people don't realize, like, I'm learning that for myself and I'm getting there. But it's not just me. You have a voice that deserves to be heard. You are powerful as well. And I think all of us out there in the world deserve to be in a community that acknowledges that, and not just acknowledges it, but pushes you to actually become that and pushes you to grow into that best version of yourself. And so I guess I'll end this by saying, like, kind of the opposite. Like, if you're not willing and ready to grow and expand and up-level your life, then this isn't for you. But if you're ready to like take some ownership of what the next chapter looks like, and you're really, really ready to like start to own your life, own your influence, no matter how big your sphere is, and do that within a community of really, really amazing humans that want nothing more than to see you succeed and grow, then I can't think of a better place, you know, to spend your time. And I think that, you know, the 6 months that I took away from this business will never happen again, because of how much fulfillment and connection that I get from this, and how much this community reminds me that I was made for more, and that I am worth it, and that I do have that voice that's worthy of being heard. So yeah, thank you so much for taking your time to hang out with us.